increasing.
Hello and welcome to Fluffy Gaming. I wanted to give you a little overview of what I was using as my Mesmer and how I'm playing him. First we're going to have a quick look at the traits tree and see how I'm set up here. I'm currently level 80. I've unlocked all my skills, so I'll go through them as well. And so yeah, here we go. Basically I'm Domination 30 and Illusions 30. And then I've got a little bit in dueling because I want some more precision, basically, and I also wanted to give my Phantasms Fury, which is nice. So, I'm very much a condition and Phantasm damagey build. What I've got here is power and condition duration, which is what I was trying to go for, was condition duration. Obviously I want to laden my foes with as many conditions as possible and make sure they cause as much damage as they can. My main skill points here I've set up are to give my illusions more damage, to cripple them when cripple the foe when my illusion is destroyed, and to cause confusion when a glamour skill is used. Now, a glamour skill is the AoE effects that the Mesmer can use normally in the utility skills, and I think also in Chaos Storm. Oh, Chaos Storm isn't a glamour. Okay, well, these two abilities, Null Field and Feedback. So when a foe walks into feedback or walks out of feedback or Null Field, they will get confusion for 5 seconds, which is nice. As one of my main damage causing abilities. So at the bottom here we've got increased condition duration damage. Sorry. So basically, this one increases the duration of the conditions, and then this one makes them hurt more, which is great because that's what you want. My confusion obviously then lasts 33% longer because I want that on them as much as possible, so they can hurt themselves as much as possible. Phantasms recharging 20% faster because I do use a lot of phantasms, and bouncing attacks. Now this is good for staff, and I'll show you this working in a minute. So yeah, my slot skills I'm running with the normal heal, which is kind of what you default get, mainly because it gives the biggest heal and the other ones are a bit rubbish. The mantra of recovery is a really good idea. You basically have to charge it up, and then you have 2 charges before you have to chant the mantra again. But they're quite small heals. They are instant, so you don't have to cast them like you do with the normal one, but I just feel like for the amount of heal you get, it's not enough. Mirror Reflect, I kind of tried this in the beta. I just didn't find myself using this when something was incoming, so I just didn't think it was worth dropping 300 points of healing, pretty much, as you can see. What else I'm going with is the Azura trait skill slot, which is Radiation Field, which just causes weakness, which is amazing in a dungeon run situation where you want to just weaken everything so it doesn't cause as much damage. The Null Field, obviously, which I talked about, removes conditions from your allies and also removes boons from the enemy. But it also does that nice confusion thing with the glamour trait. Major slot thing. How good am I with words, hey? Major trait slot thing. Wow. Well done, Rob. So, also running with feedback. Now, this thing is awesome when you've got a group of ranged attacking your party or group, or you've got the boss just about to let rip with a massively, ridiculously overpowered AoE kind of projectile type attack. Basically, this will reflect it all back on them, so you're causing them a load of damage, and you're also saving everyone else from being damaged, which is great. So I love feedback. You've just got to get it timed right. Also, when people shoot into it, it causes confusion, and if you've got the combo field ethereal, so you've got Chaos Armor if you leap into it, Chaos Confusion Bolts if you spin in it with your Whirl finisher. If you use a blast, you get Chaos Armor for everyone. It's brilliant. It's just it's win-win. And then for my elite, I'm using the D series golem, and this is mainly because we've been running quite squishy groups into the dungeon, so it's just nice to be able to get this guy up because he's quite strong. He puts a nice little bubble up for you now and again, and he can distract the mobs type or bosses depending on where you are, enough time for you to get people up, or just, you know, to save yourself from being squished, which is always good. Don't underestimate time warp though, it is really good. Basically does exactly what it says on the tin. Doubles your casting speed and attack speed, so basically you're doing twice as much DPS for the whole group as well. It's like a big bubble, and it's very nice, and it's actually a combo field, so you'll be causing confusion as well, or whatever they are doing inside it. So that's what I'm going with there. My weapons wise, I'm swapping between focus and a scepter and a staff. Now the reason I'm doing this, quickly go through the abilities. Obviously you've got this, the default scepter abilities gives you clones by default, which is quite nice. Counter spell is a block which is invaluable, really really good. The confusing images just blasts them with a bolt of, well, just a bar of pink doom, causes confusion, which is another thing that obviously you want to be causing as much of as a Mesmer, especially when you've got your conditioned based damage like I have. Down on the focus you've got Into the Void, which is like a slow, but it also does something pretty cool, which you might not have noticed if you've used it before. Obviously you're slowing down, you can run over it and make your allies speed up, but you can also suck mobs away from you or towards you, depending on how you want to use it. Basically if you put it in front of the mob, you'll suck it towards the curtain. If you put it away, you'll suck it away. So basically if you put one on the floor, run over it, you'll get a speed buff, and as the mob you're running away from runs over it, you can pull them over, pretty much. If they run over it and are a few feet over the line before you know, kick it off, you can actually push them quite far back away from you. Good one for PvP. Just keep an eye on it though, because I don't think many people have noticed that it does that. I'll just show you it again because it's pretty cool. So you've got, if you put it down there, for example, you can suck them away from you, which is nice. So yeah, that's the Sceptre. Oh, yeah, of course, my friend and colleague, the Phantasmal Warden. This guy is awesome, especially in dungeons. Basically, if you select the guy with the most health at the back of the pack and that no one's focusing on, and drop him, he will affect the whole group because of his abilities as an AoE storm of axes. It's quite cool. I will show you in working once I realise this ranger's not gonna go stealing all my stuff. Right, okay, let's do this guy. So basically what I'd do in a situation is I would drop my warder, and then I'd switch to my staff and put down Chaos Storm. And the reason for this is Chaos Storm will buff my warder and possibly give him an Aegis, which means he won't die when he gets hit instantly, and therefore finishing off the target. So let's have a go at this. You can see here now, took quite good care of him there. This guy does AoE, it's AoE for everything, so you just, you know, if there's a group of them and you can put it on. I normally go for the guy with the most health and the one that people aren't focusing, because once that target is down, your illusions go down. So if you can keep the AoE up as long as possible, that's obviously, you know, going to be doing more damage to more things. So if you just target the guy at the back, and normally the ranged, well, they won't even pay any attention to him, they'll just let him damage him, which is really nice. So that's how I'd normally start a fight off. If I do switch to my staff, I would normally pop my Illusionary Warlock quite quickly, because he does a lot of damage, especially to targets with conditions on. The more conditions, the more amplified the damage is. Let's see if I can get him to do some damage here. So he's quite good at doing his little job, and you can get them up quite quick. There's another one ready for me to put up, and great for, you know, on bosses because they keep out of the way, and unlike the Warden, who is actually really good on bosses that don't do a lot of swiping and cleaving, because obviously they're going to die quite quick. This guy stays out of the way and is still able to do a lot of damage because everyone's putting conditions on the boss, so obviously his damage goes up, which is really nice. So don't underestimate, and don't, you know, when you're playing Mesmer and you are condition based, always remember before your primary attack you want to be getting some kind of phantasm up, because they're the guys that are doing the damage. Plus it will take the aggro away from you and onto your phantasm, meaning you can do more damage. So with that bounce ability on the staff I was talking about in the trait tree, adding an extra bounce is actually pretty cool, because if I say, for example, start firing with my winds here, you'll see the kind of, hold on a minute, let's do that again, kind of auto started then. So yeah, so if we start bouncing these off now, you can see how it bounces back to me and then bounces back, so you get like 2 hits for 1 on the enemy, causing a good bit of damage and putting a load of conditions on again, which is really nice. You also get the boons. Normally you'd have 2 bounces, so it'd come off the enemy back onto you or onto another enemy, and you wouldn't get that 3rd bounce, so it does actually make a big difference. Really like that one. Also, what else are we going for here? Oh, phase retreat, brilliant. That saves my life a lot. Obviously you've got 2 dodges before they recharge, and then phase retreat, which recharges pretty quick. It leaves the clone as well, so it would actually just put the aggro onto the clone you leave behind, giving you a few more seconds. He doesn't last very long, especially against bosses and mobs in instances, but he does give you that amount of time. Plus with the trait in the tree there, which cripples foes when your clones are destroyed, it gives you that extra, you know, bit of juice compared to the poor crippled foe which is trying to get to you. What else have we got here? Yeah, confusing images, I think I've talked about that. The counter spell, you really need to not underestimate blocking. It's quite awesome. Let's try and get a block here now. So you know, you're obviously going to get hit by this guy. If you set your block up, let's get him to come over to me. Come on, hit me. So you cause an illusion to bump off there. And it just works really, really nicely, and it saves you all that damage. Now this, you've got to understand, this works really well against everything. I mean, when it's a block, it means, you know, if it's a boss shooting a big missile at you, it will block. You just have to time it right. It's all about the timing, because you've got like a couple of seconds before it ticks off. So you've got like 2 seconds, yeah, before it ticks off. So getting the timing right for when the actual bolt is incoming is vital. The only things you've got to look out for is if it's a channeled attack, you know, where it's like something breathing fire, which would cause more than 1 actual hit. You've got to be more careful. It's like Aegis in the sense that you get 1 block, as in like 1 bit of damage is negated, 1 hit. So if there's a guy firing multiple projectiles at you, you're only going to block 1 of those projectiles and you're going to take the other ones in the face. You have got to be careful of that. But it's really good for if you're seeing a move that's telegraphed and you know it's going to be a big hitter and it's pretty much going to one-shot you, you can put your block up and save yourself. So don't ever neglect your blocking. It's saved me so many times. Very, very good. I think that's it for skills on the thing. Oh, I also swap between my pistol. Sometimes it's better to have a bit of ranged instead of having the Warden. The Warden is really good up close and it does a load of AoE damage, but in situations where the target you're on is cleaving a lot or likes to do melee attacks or isn't focused on someone else, you're going to have some issues. So what I like to, you know, obviously you've got your Warden, get your Warden up. He can, your duelist up, he can then unload his pistols. You also get the stun with the magic bullet, which causes blindness and then dazes the next enemy it hits, which is nice. So he's gone off there, which is good, because obviously causing blindness, you get a free hit basically. They can't hit you on that next shot. It's like a reverse Aegis in that sense. Something you should not overlook on boss fights as well is blindness. It's always good. Save your friends a lot of hassle. So the duelist also has a projectile kind of finisher on him. So when you're shooting through the other abilities you have, like feedback and field and chaos storm, you do get the confusion as well being put onto the enemy, which is nice. Like you would do with the warden spinning in chaos storm gives the bolts out because it's a whirl finisher. All very good to think about. Oh, also really useful. While I remember, I found if you quit your focus and you put down the curtain, it also gives a field of light, which when you spin, if you put it under a warden, for example, and he's doing his little spinny thing, he's going to whirl out bolts of cleansing. So basically, they'll be removing removing conditions from your allies, which is really nice to be able to just put that down and do a bit of a. I wouldn't say it's a 100% cleanse because it's not an AoE effect in the sense of a big explosion, but it does, remove conditions on a bolt type projectile basis. And it's quite, it's quite a good spread. He does his little whirl for quite a while. So don't forget that when you're using your Phantasmal Warden or your other wardens, make sure you're checking what finishes they do and then how you're going to best use them within the fields you've got. Okay, final part, we're looking at the shatters. Big part of being a Mesmer is knowing when to shatter, because basically what you're doing is, as a Mesmer, when you get an illusion up, it's only locked to that target, so when that target's health comes down too low, that's it, your illusions are gone when they're dead. So you've got this moment where it's kind of like, well, do I pop my illusions now and do as much damage as possible when the enemy is low in health, which is always a good idea to do. So basically what you should be doing is, when you've got your illusions up and on that target where your illusions are, when he's coming down to low health, you want to be popping Mind Rack just to be able to give that extra kick, because otherwise you've just got 3 illusions which just basically expire when the mob goes down. So you want to be doing as much damage as possible, obviously, and also that gives an AoE effect. So it's not limited to one target. So if you're in a group, destroying them, shattering your illusions will also damage all foes around in that area, which is nice. It also causes confusion on this one because of the way my traits are set up. So that's always a bonus. Now, Cry of Frustration is something I'd use mid-fight if I've got a load of illusions which are kind of, on the down. Well, what's that guy doing? Twitchy. If there's a guy who's kind of half health, but my illusions are sort of losing health and they're going to go down, it's best just to pop that, and then you at least get some use out of them, before they are extinguished. So it's always good to do that. The other two I haven't really used that much. Daze is only for 1 second, so I'm normally switching between these two because they've already cooled down, and I haven't, if they're on cooldown, then I haven't normally got enough illusions out to make it worthwhile. Distortion is quite a nice one actually, because you can actually cause everyone to evade all attacks, so you get like an evasive maneuver there. But again, you've normally already popped them, so it's kind of like, interesting balancing act. We'll see. I might try using distortion a bit more because of what it causes, but I find myself by instinctively just going straight to Cry of Frustration, because confusion causes so much damage when obviously people are using skills against, mobs are using skills against you. It's kind of useful to be doing more damage. So that's it, guys. That's pretty much how I'm using my Mesmer at the moment. I hope you found that useful or interesting, and remember, conditions and confusion are your friend when you're playing Mesmer. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of escape abilities you can get yourself out of danger with, and a lot of confusion to do just with your actual clones and yeah, it's just a load of fun. It's a very different class to, profession to play. Profession, interchangeable words in the MMO world. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon.
Vitality restored.